All right, already ready. So, digital Symplexity. Our company's sole focus is to build business process solutions using process mining technologies. And late last year, we partnered with Celonis, who we believe has one of the best process mining products on the market, actually the best. And our goal is to help them bring process mining to North America. Now, they're a German-based software company that's focused solely on creating process mining software. And they came to our attention when they had raised over $25 million in venture funds. They've since won multiple awards for their product's capabilities and are the fastest growing software company in Germany. Today, I'm joined by Danae Vanderberg, who is our Director of Solution Delivery, and Jeff Nadsky, who is currently working as an advisor to Digital Symplexity. They'll be handling some color commentary here and there, and then helping out with our Q&A at the end. So, uh, to explain things, what we're going to be going through today is what is process mining and how does it work? We'll walk through a demonstration of Celonis' software looking at a procure-to-pay process. Go through the business value of process mining, as well as wrap things up with some information about our company, do a QA, and then talk about the next demonstration, which is going to go through Celonis' newest release, which has some incredibly powerful capabilities. So at the highest level, process mining is tools and techniques that allow you to automatically discover and visually map how your business processes are working across an entire organization. Helps you monitor your process's performance, the behavior of your process, as well as provide details for areas of process improvement which are often overlooked. Other tools are unable to find these opportunity areas, and essentially replaces that need for the army of consultants to come in and map your process for you. So it sounds like a bunch of smoke and mirrors, but we're going to walk you through how it works right now. So process mining uses data that's already been collected by your business systems as people go about doing their jobs every day. And it transforms that data that's being collected into activity IDs. And these activity IDs belong to a process, or in our case, that will be going through a PO, and they have a time and date stamp associated with them, which helps them, which creates an order for each of the activities that belong to each process. So I'm going to make that a little bit easier for you now. So here we have Paula, and she's in our purchasing department, and she's working on a price change for purchase order number 1301. Now, what's happening here is there's an activity that's taking place that's a price change, and there needs to be a unique number, a unique way to identify that, hey, this is a price change that's taking place. So there's data that actually exists that does tell us that, because she's in a form or in a specific place where she's entering that information. It also says, hey, I belong to the process number 1301 because my purchase order number is 1301. And the time and date stamp is telling us, hey, price change, I took place at this time and place, because there's multiple steps that the purchase order is going to go through, approval processes as well as delivery, etc. And so we also have additional data that is gathered that enables us to look at product information, purchasing organization, who the vendor was, and other information to fill out more detail about the process and provide us insights that will help us understand exactly where optimization opportunities are, where money's being wasted. So you may be thinking, hey, I've already got all this data. Um, uh, yes, you do. What process mining does is it allows you to view your data differently than any other capability out there today. And Celonis takes it to a new level. And you know what? Let's just get right into it. So what we're starting out is looking at is Celonis Process Explorer. And we're looking at the happy path of our process, which is the path our purchase order process follows the most often. So we can see we have 107,000 different purchase orders that are flowing through this specific process. We have a total of about 300,000 purchase orders. And then we have a net value just north of $500 million. And down here on the bottom, we can see but we have one of 565 variants, and then 39% of all of our cases or all the purchase orders go through this specific process. Now, adding a variant to Celonis is super easy, and we just added what we can see is a starting point by the dotted line. Both starting point and end points have dotted lines from the last activity to process end and process start. So we can see that this specific process variation goes through create purchase order item as the first activity, and it doesn't go through create purchase requisition item. You can also see we have 52% of our cases covered. This may or may not be something that we want to look into, but let's add another variant. And now we've added a price change activity to the process flow, and this happens 3,000 different, 37,000 different times. That seems kind of like a lot of price changes, and we can actually see just by clicking on it that this is happening in 14% of our cases. Now, this is something that I'd like to see a little bit more different view of. So we can change from our case frequency or how often the process goes through each point to the actual time it takes to get done. And what we're seeing here is if we don't have a price change, it's taking 8 days, and it's taking 17 days if we go through that price change. So there's going to be some sort of optimization that we could do there to have a price change take less time. Now we can drill into that and find more information on that just by jumping into another screen here. So what I'm going to do is select what we had on the other screen. Now, one of the great features to Celonis is that you can zero in and select and hold or save a view and then very quickly delete it. What we did is we saved the purchase order or the change price as what we're zeroing in on. You can see all the interactivity with the charts on the right. So we leave that and we want to focus in on just activities that have the price change in it. We have it right there. So now we can see the different variations that have a price change involved in them. We can also, again, over here, this is the exact same thing that we had in the Process Explorer. As you can see, it is it. And we can do the time throughput as well. So set this back to where we were. Now we can see that we have Piccolo Company that is responsible for almost half of our net value of purchases that go through a price change. And we can select on them and understand, okay, this is happening, and we do a lot of business with our purchasing organization in Europe and in North America. They're working with about 50-50 with each organization. And if we want to get into super detail, we can jump into the details page and we can actually look at each individual purchase order that's been made. So I'm going to fly back to our analysis screen, and I'm going to bring us back to the original view of our data. And let's add another variant. So we had our 3 variants before. We can add our 4th one now, very simply just by adding that in there. Now we have another process starting point. We can see here that the process is starting with a scan invoice. Now this is happening 18,000 times, which is 7% of our cases. So this might signify to somebody that there's some maverick buying going on. People are not getting permission to buy stuff. They're doing it after the fact. There's all sorts of things that this could mean. So this might make more sense to drill into in detail as well. So we can also see here that this is happening very often in September and October. So we can actually select those 2 months and say, we want to drill into these 2 months, or let's just drill right into this 1 month. And we can see that, and on this table, what we're looking at is the purchase orders by vendor. And we can select multiple options for this. So if we go into the materials group, we can see that we have one purchase that is responsible for $4 million worth of business. Now this could signify fraud. It could signify all sorts of different things. And drilling into this to get more detail probably makes a lot of sense. So we can jump into our detail screen again. We're looking at just that one specific purchase order. And we can see that we bought monitors, they're flat screens. So we can go back to our analysis page. So you can see that we just went from a very high level workflow into the granular details of our purchase orders. Now, we can look at our material group by vendor, and I showed them some of the other things before, but if we look at this from material group, we can see that our company really likes monitors and bulbs. And what we can do is click on one of these and we can select, yeah, we're going to save this or isolate that as our data that we're looking at. And then we can drill into how many vendors do we have that we like that sell us light bulbs? And we see that Piccolo is our main company where we have the big issue with anyway. And we have multiple vendors that we're buying bulbs from. So it might make a lot of sense for us to look at aggregating our spend on bulbs to one or two or three different vendors and get a better pricing. One of the other features that I'd like to show you is our ability to benchmark. And what this is we're able to look at two different companies and see their processes side by side. And we could figure out best practices, whose processes are affecting our business differently, and how each piece goes. Of course, they show up the exact same there, but um, let's we could also use this for our internal use, where we're looking at our procurement process and our different purchasing organizations and share best practices and see how different variables affect different business units. And then also Celonis has a reporting capability, which in the form of stories. And these stories, they've thought through pretty much everything. So when you look at the reports that you can generate, anything that you've created in your overview analysis, benchmark details, are available. All you got to do is click and add it. So we just added our purchasing organization percentages. Let's add our variant explorer. So we have that. And it's all drag drop pretty much. And then you can save it, and then we can also schedule it and have it go out. Let's jump back into our presentation so I can tell you a little bit more about some of the business value that process mining can provide. All right, so companies can use process mining in multiple ways, and typically companies are using it for governance, risk and compliance, procure to pay, order to cash, supply chain, accounts payable. They can use it for customer experience, patient improvement. There's all sorts of different variables, different ways that process mining can be used across an organization. If you need vision to how your business is operating or how processes are operating within your operations, process mining is a solution that will work for you, especially if you're trying to lower costs and look at optimization opportunities. So here we have a list of companies that we know that have implemented process mining, and I believe all of these are Celonis clients. And process mining just it's expanded over in Europe, and it's just now starting to make its way to North America. Now, these companies are in multiple industries, and you can see financial services, food and beverage, medical device. It confirms that Celonis in process mining can go across industry. It's not just a vertical solution. It's a horizontal solution that can happen with any company that has any sort of complex process or needs to do optimization. A kind of a flagship discussion piece is what Celonis has done with Siemens. And Celonis was used to reconstruct the IT supported processes from start to finish so that business users could check and analyze all their processes and their numerous variants in real time. So they were able to capture bottlenecks, compliance violations, and inefficiencies were identified, and process efficiency has been monitored since. And now today there's over 3,000 users. They have 70 different SAP instances which are running on it, which is kind of amazing. And they're able to provide real-time analysis. And if Siemens has questions, something that used to take them, days or weeks is now taking them seconds. And I think that gives you a really another powerful understanding of what process mining by Celonis brings to the table. Some of Celonis's other great examples are with Bayer AG, their pharmaceutical company. They use Celonis for their procure-to-pay process and order-to-cash, and have significantly increased their audit efficiency by standardizing their processes. They currently have 80 users, 8 SAP systems that are connected, as well as open text invoice management. ABB, which is a robotics and power company, they're using Celonis to constantly monitor and improve mission critical business processes in production, accounting, and purchasing. They're connected with SAP, ReadSoft, and HP Service Manager. Nestle, which is a company I think we all know, is using Celonis to improve their overall performance in their supply chain across all the business practices related to supply chain. And the monitoring the results across multiple ERPs. They're also looking at procure-to-pay process in order to cash. And then RWE, which is an electric company, they're using Celonis to gain deeper understanding of the customer lifecycle process, to deliver a better customer experience. And they're connected with SAP, Oracle, Siebel, and I believe that they have, I think it's up to 25 users currently. So with that, just as I mentioned earlier today, Digital Symplexity, our sole focus is on building business process mining solutions using process mining technologies. We're a small company backed with the power of our software partners like Celonis. So we bring the breadth of these larger organizations as well as the flexibility of boutique business partner. Our typical approach is looking at solution assessment, working through solution design, proof of concept, implementation, and then we believe the foundation for successful software implementation, regardless if it's a process mining solution or an ERP or anything else, is you need to have a strong project delivery leadership. You need to have training to ensure that there's successful adoption and organizational change management to establish a process mining mindset across your organization. So what we've done to help us walk through our customer doors providing value is we built Rapid Vision, which is our ritual toolbox of templates, scripts, data models, change management methodologies, as well as processes and tool configurations, which will allow us to rapidly provide proof of concepts and provide rapid return on investment. So with that, let's jump into some Q&A about, let's see here. What's our first question? You brought up Celonis PI. What is it?
Well, Celonis PI, which stands for Proactive Insights, adds 4 new features to the Celonis Process Mining solutions, which is one of the reasons that we wanted to extend our partnership with them.
Danae, I'm going to jump over to that last slide that we have that has the 4 points of PI, so you can continue to explain.
The 4 modules include first, PI Conformance, and this model allows you to upload a file of your process model or use their modeling tool software to create a model. And then it checks that data model, which we call the to-be process or the happy path process, against your actual data as it's processed through Celonis, which is the as-is process. So what PI Conformance can do is it will analyze the difference between the as-is and the to-be, and it will give you a to-do list of exactly what needs to change to move the process from the one you have to the one you want. And it also prioritizes that to-do list based on the value that that recommendation will have to your business. So you can focus on the highest revenue and throughput problems first. Next is PI Social, and that provides really a visual map of the resources or the people that perform your process activities. Celonis normally gives you a visual map of your process activities. PI Social gives you that visual map of the resources that perform that activities. So it shows you how different business units and teams and personnel will interact to complete a business process. So the goal of that is really to strengthen team performance and to maximize team effectiveness, because it'll identify where the work most often comes from and where that work goes to. And so it highlights any workload imbalances you might have between the groups, or it'll also identify where work seems to be going back and forth between 2 groups where there might be some inefficiencies. So it also provides the same type of data that Celonis provides by process. It's by case, by activity. It has throughput time calculations, historical trending, just like it does for the activities, but in this case, it does it for teams and individuals. So third is PI machine learning, And that basically is software that's built in with algorithms that give it the ability to improve recommendations over time. So, software with machine learning provides recommendations based on the input data, and then it can adapt and improve those predictions over time as more data is processed for it to learn from. So, it gives you recommendations on your future state of operations based on analysis and trends of your historical data. So it'll display where, for example, where you may have planned values for lead times for products, where that may deviate from your actual times, and where those deviations, whether you're planning too much or planning too little, where they may cost your business and your customers. It gives you a list of recommendations of exactly how to improve the accuracy of those planned values, and then it also predicts how long your future processing will take, breaking the time down per activity based on what we're seeing today. So if you don't make any changes, this is where you're going to end up. And then last, it's PI Companion. And that really is a process advisor. So what it does is it launches the Celonis application right from within one of your business critical applications. So for example, as you're entering a purchase order, you can actually have Celonis right there within that same application. So as you're looking, okay, what do I want to put for a delivery date of this item? You can check to see in Celonis how long this particular item from this particular vendor normally takes. So you make decisions right there, right? When it's right in front of your face, it's a lot easier to use. So it just makes it a lot more convenient so you can use it as you're actually making decisions on the purchase order rather than just watching the process at the end of the flow.
Hey, thanks, Danae. That was a great answer. Let's try this one. How do we know if process mining is a good fit for our company?
Well, it always depends. So, as a general guideline, we've found most companies that have kind of really general process that most companies have, like procure to pay. They'll probably get 100% return on investment within the first 3 to 6 months. Now, a smaller company may not get that same return on investment as a medium or a large size company might, maybe not quite as quickly. And it also depends on the amount of digitization within your company. If everything is digitalized, it's a little bit easier. If you have some manual process, it might be a little bit more difficult, still doable. So because of that, that's why we always recommend kind of a standard phased approach. First, we go through a readiness assessment, then a package selection, then we usually move on to a pilot of a couple of weeks, and then an implementation process once we decide to go forward. And at each step, then we work with you to assess if process mining is a good fit, determine the value it may bring, and then decide to go on to the next step.
All righty. Our next question is, how do you account for manual processes in process mining?
Well, manual process are shown in process mining only through steps which have a time and an activity and a case ID on either side of them. We can then understand how long the manual process takes, and then we would need to do some further kind of old school process analysis, but we'll know exactly what to look with process mining. So it certainly is possible to take manual processes and put them into the tool. It just requires a little bit more work.
Thanks, Danae. That was great. All right, let's go to this one here. We already have a BI tool and a business process modeling tool. Why do I need process mining as well?
Well, and that's a good question. So, all three are actually very complementary. They all have a little bit different focus. And let me just kind of walk through those. So, BI or business intelligence, that's used to answer kind of a specific question and or a specific measure to an outcome. So, it focuses on the what of data analysis. If you want to know a particular stat, how something works, you can ask. What process mining does is it puts some context and meaning about the how of a process. So, process mining will use automated process discovery to define each step of your process, and it will visually weigh the most common paths. It'll show all of the different loops and the bottlenecks and the delays in that process. So, BI, by contrast, it can provide you a lot of information, but it can't really give you that visual reference. So, if you want to look into BI and ask them for some specific stats or some specific measurements, it'll be great at that. The way I describe process mining is process mining shows you questions you didn't know to ask because it gives you that visual representation of all of your different process variations. Just not something that you normally would see with business intelligence. Now, looking at process modeling, again, that's a little bit different. Process modeling is usually used to show what your to-be process is or what your happy process is. So it's either, this is how I expect a transaction to be processed if everything is perfect. And maybe the 1, 2, 3, maybe up to 5 or 10 different variants we might expect. But it normally doesn't go through every possible variant, and it normally isn't exactly perfect as to how the process usually works. When you use process mining, what you'll see is this might be what you expected to see in your business process modeling tool, but this is what's actually happening. And if you go back to the demo that we just saw, if you notice at the bottom right hand of the screen, it said there are 546, I think, variants within the process. So you're never going to get a business process modeling tool for, say, your procure to pay purchase that's going to show you all potential 546 variations. So it's great to say this is what I want my process to be, but you really need process mining to show you how it really works. And you can identify how far that is off from my to-be process or my happy path and figure out where you want to make those recommendations. Now I'll go back for a minute to PI conformance. What that really has kind of as a game changer for business process modeling is it actually will put those two things together and say, if this is what you want and this is what you have, here are the top steps that you need to take to get there. So process mining with the new Celonis PI or Proactive Insights actually really ties your business process modeling to process mining in a way you haven't been able to before, and really allows the two to work together.
Alrighty, so our last question is, what do all the process variants look like? Oh, I will jump right back in just a minute. So if we're looking at all the different variants of a process, it looks like a big bowl of spaghetti. And this is kind of a cool feature within Celonis is when you select a specific process, it'll show you how it's running. So you can see it's starting and going through the process. And then as you have different variants that you want to look at, you're able to see how your process flows. And if you did it from a throughput standpoint, it'll change things up a little bit from the way that you're seeing it. So with that, let's talk to you about our next webinar, which is going to be on the March 1st. And we're going to be walking through the proactive insights that we've mentioned quite a few times today. If you would like any additional information, you can contact us at 612-284-4100 or check us out on the web at processminingrevolution.com or shoot us an email at info@digitalsymplexity.com. Thank you for taking time to join us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.